we need to move quicker so we have some time to play with the Kahoot, right? Okay. Now let's use now we already learned how to examine the distribution of numeric variables, right? In numeric variable, we can use summary to see their summary statistics. We can also use histogram to see how the value distributed across the range, right? And now how about categorical, right? We know that for character we have nothing to do with character, isn't it? It's like just character can be anything, but categorical, usually we would like to see how, for example, like this one, right? We know that a line is a categorical, right? So for categorical variable, the first thing we would like to know is to count the number of each distinct value, isn't it? Right? So this function table, it helps to count the number of each distinct value within the vector, right? Let me say it again. It would count and list the number of discrete values. So it's actually it also works on numerics, okay? But usually it works on categorical. So it counts the. Now we have 3 distinct values in a line, right? So it actually counts the number of occurrence of each of these distinct values, right? So this is a table. So for you can see that this is actually the distribution of a line, right? By distribution we mean how the value vary, isn't it? That is what we call distribution. So how the value a line vary. They are 3 different labels, right? And the number of the frequency of each of this value is like you can use table to acquire this frequency. And then if we want to visualize 有什么他们的画面哦 OK 刚刚管店的人进来，不知道干了什么。Do you see the screen now? Now? It's working now? Okay, good. Good. So so we can see this. You can see it in numeric way, right? We can examine the categorical variable in numeric way. We can also do it in graphical way, right? So to do it in a graphical way, we simply pipe the table into a bar plot. Okay, it's easy, isn't it? Right? So you do a table, you'll get a table like this. If we want to visualize this table, we simply pipe the table. We pipe the table into a bar plot. Okay. Actually, within the bar plot, you can. This is the optional argument. You can just type bar plot, okay? So and then you can visualize a table, right? So this is very handy, isn't it? Right? In R for categorical variable, if we want to examine a categorical variable, okay, we simply do table and then pipe it into a bar plot, okay? Now actually we can do some exercise, right? So let's try this question. So we already learned how to examine the distribution of numeric and categorical variable, and we also learned how to examine this variable in statistic and in graphical way, isn't it? Right? So which way is better? What do you think? When we want to examine a numeric variable or a categorical variable, we can examine them in statistics in numeric way, or we can visualize the statistics and see it in the graphical way. So which way is better? It's better to understand, better to communicate. Graphical way is better, isn't it? Right? So, and in R, we actually can visualize. We can visualize the analysis in very easily, right? So, do you want to do some practice by yourself? Right? You try to go back to the notebook. So we already run to like here, right? So if we want to sorry, something's wrong. Let me do it again. This broadcasting software is kind of like clipping my cursor, so make it very difficult to operate. I don't get used to it. Yeah. So let's try to do this exercise, right? If we want to examine the statistic, if we want to examine this variable statistically, what is the command that we should use? Anyone? We want to examine appearance, this numeric variable, statistically. What is the command that we should put on? Anyone? Where is the now Rosie? Where is Rosie? Okay. So we want to examine this variable appearance, right? In statistically, what is the command that we should do it? So in R, now you don't need to like type in the command like in sequence. You know you want to examine this, right? You type it first, right? So you need to apply a function to see its statistics, right? What is the function? What is the function that we use to acquire its statistics? Summary, yeah. See, right? Now, how about we want to examine the variable year graphically? Let me pick another one. Where is Gong Li Wen? Yeah. Sorry. We want to examine the variable year, right? Graphically. So first thing is type in, right? And we want to see, we want to examine this numeric, we know it's in numeric, right? We want to visualize this numeric variable. What is the command that we want to use? His, correct. See, right? Okay. Now, if we want to examine the variable sex statistically, what can we do? You want to raise your hand? before I do a quick call? Okay, I'll call it Nick. Where is Nick? You? Okay. So if we want to examine sex is a categorical variable, right? So if we want to examine a categorical variable, what is the command I would use?
Would it be the same for appearances? Would you use summary?
Well, let's try. Well, it would not work, right? It would not work. Let me see. It only show you that it's because they are characters, right? So it only tell you that this vector contain 7250 character string. But it's a categorical, so we want to know the distribution, right?
So table?
Yeah, table. Yeah, that's table. That's table. See, right? Sex has two different sex, and this is the. So if we want to examine the variable I graphically, who can do that? Where's, yes. Right? And then what? Yeah, use the pipe, right? See? Right. Okay. So this is the, right? This is graphically, we can examine the eye color. We have 8 kinds of eye colors, right? Now, okay, so let's move on. Okay. Now we need to in this section, I'll try to discuss character versus factor. Factor is actually the categorical, right? In our language, they use it like interchangeably. Sometimes they call it factor variable. Sometimes they call it categorical variable, right? So factor and character. Now, if we look in if you go into RStudio, you can see that up to this point of time, all of the first 7 columns, they are actually character, right? But we know that some of them is not, is actually categorical instead of just like character string, right? So there's a way to declare that a variable is categorical. The way to do it is like this. You can use this function called factor. It is a way to convert a character variable into a categorical variable, right? So in this line of code, I call factor and d-align, right? So it would transfer this character variable into a categorical variable, and then when you do the conversion, you can also specify the order of 3 different of all of the labels. Okay, this is what we mean. The label is actually the distinct value within the categorical variable, right? So you can actually, when you transfer a character variable into a factor, you can actually specify the order of the labels. If you do not specify, it would actually use the alphabetical order. Okay, so in this line of code, we actually create a new column called f.align, which means a factor align, right? The original align is actually a character column, right? So in this way, we create a new column called f.align, and this f.align is a factor variable. It's not character, right? So and we want to specify that the three label is in this order, okay? So after do that, we can do a table bopera again, right? So this table bopera, this is the original variable. So you can see that it's alphabetical order, isn't it? It's good. Sorry, it's bad, good, and neutral, right? Okay. But because we when we convert a line to f align, we specify the order of label. So right now, when we do a table and bar plot, you can see that the neutral is between bad and good, right? And this is the way. This is one way that we want to transfer our character into factor, right? In R, usually you can use factor and character interchangeably, right? I mean, in another word, wherever you can use, almost whenever you can use a character, you can use factor instead, right? So they can use interchangeably. They are not much difference. And one difference is that in factor, you can actually specify the order, right? In character, you cannot, right? Okay, this is one difference. And a second difference is when you do the summary, okay? So far, see in this f align, it is no longer a character, right? F align is actually a categorical variable, isn't it? Align is a character variable. So when you do summary on it, you only see a vector of characters. You see nothing on it. But if you convert it into a factor, when you do a summary, you actually will see right? You actually will see kind of like a table, right? It will show you the number of each of distinct value within this factor, right? This the other benefit that you convert into factor, right? So there are two benefits of convert into factor. First, you can specify the labels, right? And second, when you do summary, you actually see the distribution, right? You actually see the table of the labels, right? Okay, so these are the two benefits. There's one other exercise that if we do the same thing on I, right? So now I convert in this command, I convert the align and set the result in a new column name, right? But the other way to do the conversion is actually I convert the I and directly put it into the same name. Doing this would not create a new column. It would override the I column, right, with a factor. You see what I mean? Okay? So by doing this, I will not create a new column, but just convert the original column I from character into factor. Okay? So this is another way to do the conversion. Depends on whether you want to keep the original character variable. Okay? So if we do that, you can see that when we do str on I, you will see that it is the factor of a label. It means that like we have eight different color I colors in all of these characters, and we can see the labels, right? You would list all of the A labels, okay? And because we do not specify because when we convert the factor, we do not specify the label. So you can see that the label is in alphabetical order. You see that? Because when we do this conversion, we do not specify the order of the label, right? So by default, it would generate the label in alphabetic order, okay? So, and then you can do a table, of course, right? And when you do summary on that, you can see that the I is actually, you count the number, right? You count a number like this. But as I say, we actually have 8 different I colors, right? But the summary only lists the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It only lit up to 6, right? So, and the other type they will put in these others. Otherwise, it would be too lengthy, right? For example, you might have a categorical variable that have 100 different label, right? So the summary will not have the room to display everything. So it only display the first 6. So if you want to see if you want to see all of the labels, if you want to count all of the labels, the best way is to use table. Otherwise, use summary is not a good idea to do that, right? I mean, when we do this, when we do see, so it's very smart, right? Actually, in this way, we list all of the labels, right? But in the summary display, it only displays 6 of them. Let me. See, I just want to remind you that the way you see in the data frame summary is not complete, right? For example, this yellow and white color is not listed here, right? So if you want to see all of the labels, you will need to do it separately. Otherwise, you will maybe miss some labels. But that's a way to use to convert a character into factor. But as I say, nowadays in the R environment, factor is not much. It is very similar to character. Whenever you can use factor, you can use character instead. So don't worry about too much, right? About the 2 things. So let's move on. So as I say here, right, practically when we read in the data will be read in as character, right? But you don't really need to explicitly convert every character variable into a factor, right? You do it only when it is needed, right? Practically we don't convert all of the categorical into factor in the beginning, right? Now let's do some up to this point we already learned how to examine numeric and categorical variable, right? Now let's do some other things. Now sometimes when we examine the data, we want to see we want to do some ordering, we want to do some filtering, isn't it? Right? For example, if we want to answer the question like, if we want to list the top 10 character by their appearance, I mean we want to find the 10 character that had the largest number of appearance, right? So how can we do that? We can sort. We have learned this function sort, right? We can sort appearance, right? And when we sort appearance, by default, it is in ascending order, right? Now, if we want to see the the largest number, we want to use the descending, right? We want to use the descending order, right? So in order to use the descending order, you need to put in this argument. So when we do this, we actually have this appearance vector sorted in a descending order. So we can use the top 10, cat 10 to print out the first 10 value. So you see the 10 number there, but we don't know, but who are they, right? We see the 10 largest appearance, but who are they? We don't know, right? So actually, we have two kind of ordering function. Sort would sort and return the content of x. Okay, x is a vector, right? Usually it's a numeric vector, right? If you sort x, you will actually sort the vector and return the value. That's what we see here. But order is different. When we use order, it did not return the value. It returned the order, okay? So we can use the order as an index, right? If we use the returned order as index, like we use here, okay? Now in this, well, this content looks a little complicated. Let me explain it in the data camp. In this RStudio, sorry. This software is really it's clipping my screen, right? So it made me very difficult to operate. Okay, we are here, right? So when you see a expression so complicated, right? So you want to see its structure, right? So D is actually our, maybe it is. Okay. So D is our object name, right? So so what is the angle basket? It's the indexing, isn't it? I'm doing indexing, right? So because D is a data frame, so you need two index, right? The first index is what we call the raw index, isn't it? And the second index is actually the column index, right? Column index is easier because we want to see 3 columns, right? We want to see year, appearance, and name, isn't it? Right? This is the column index, which means that we only want to select the 3 columns. And now, look at here. We are now using the order, right? Now, we are now using the order to reorder, because we are using the appearance order, right? So this order will be, by doing this, you will actually rearrange the D data frame in decreasing appearance. Okay? Because you put the order here, right? And the order is in decreasing appearance, right? So use this order as the raw index. You actually reorder the data frame in decreasing appearance. You get my point? As I say, order actually will return an index so that you can reorder the other data object in decreasing or increasing order. And so far we want to, as I say, this expression would actually create would actually create an index with decreasing appearance. Okay? So if I make it simpler, if I take this away, by default, the order function would generate index in increasing, in ascending order, right? So if I do ascending order, and then I'll have to put this from head to tail, right? And if I execute this, so you can see that these things are in ascending. So be patient. Okay, so as you can see that right now, this table is arranged in ascending appearance, isn't it? Right? So because they are ascending, so I want to see the tail 10, right? Isn't it? So if I do this, if I specify decreasing order, I need to put it as if I'm using decreasing order, then you can see that they are order in decreasing appearance, isn't it? Right? So order is different from sort, right? Instead of return the value of x, it is actually generate an index by the value of x, right? So you can use this index to reorder something else. That is the way that we use order, right? So it's very useful when we want to answer this type of question. If we want to know the 10 log, if we want to know who are the most appearing characters, then you will basically need to use this order function. Okay. So you need, if you practice it, then you will have more. Yes.
So do we need to use index with the order or the count?
When you are using index, usually you will use order, right? You cannot put a sort here because the value is not what you want, right? The value is not what you want. The order is what you want, isn't it? Right? So you can use order as index. You cannot use sort in this place, isn't it? Right? And the index is actually placed within the angle basket, right? We already say that. Right? Okay. Any more questions? Now, if we want to, you actually, we can do subset. Now we want to, the subset command actually can you pick out row by condition and column by names. Okay, let's see an example. Now, if I want to do a subset on D, right? And I want to pick out the die female character, right? This is a condition, right? And we can put several conditions together by this ampersand operator, right? So with subset, you can actually specify a condition, right? And you can also select the column that you want to see, right? Subset is actually you want to extract something from this. D is very, very large, isn't it, right? So you only want a subset of it. So you can set the condition and you can select the column, right? So it's, if you want to do that, you use this subset function. And we can put the subset into a lowercase d, right? We will create another object, lowercase d, and then we can, right, order the, again, we order this lowercase d by appearance. So this is, what are they? They are the top 10 appearance for deceased and female character, isn't it? Right? Now this is the way that when we combine this function, right? When we combine this function and the indexing, right? We can actually examine the data in whatever we are interested, right? So in this 2 line of code, the first line, I actually subset the data frame with some condition, right? And I select a small subset of the column, right? And then I use this line of code to sort the subsetted data set in descending appearance, right? So this table is actually the deceased female with the largest appearance, isn't it? Right? So whatever we can specify, now we can use program to pick up the data of our interest, isn't it? Right? This is expression, right? In the terminology of R programming, right? These are expressions, isn't it? So whatever we can specify by human language, we actually has a way to express it in an R expression, right? And so far you cannot express it very well yet, but along the way you will learn more and more, and your expression will be more and more expressive, right? Hopefully at the end of the semester, you will learn most of the expression that you need in analyzing business data. Okay. Now, can we do a group exercise now? Can each of this group, your group, they get together and try to do this quiz? Okay. 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 So let's also have a break. Okay. Let's break until 11:10. And during the break, you can like try to do this. Okay.